My name is Lisa Clarkson. I am the owner of Dancing Tree Physical Therapy and Wellness. I'm also the provider there. I have a history of being a movement educator for a long time, teaching dance and Pilates, and then I'm also a physical therapist. So I'm used to cueing a lot of exercises, and now I even work as a functional medicine practitioner. But movement is part of whole health, and so I'm doing this video today. You could have done the mobility one before, or just use these videos in isolation, but this one is going to be a bit more about lumbar stabilization. You can have a couple props if you like, you don't need them. But I have some light hand weights just for a little bit of challenge, and I'm going to use the foam roller. I'm actually going to start on the foam roller. If you have not been doing any core stabilization and you're just getting yourself started, the foam roller is going to be a bit challenging for you, so don't feel like you have to use this right away. So getting on the foam roller is probably the most awkward bit. So when you get on, you want to have your tail at one end and your head at the other end. And then this is an unstable surface. So just being on here and not having your hands down, right? Maybe closing your eyes for a moment, or checking the width of your feet. All of these can challenge your stability. So you may find just being here to be a bit destabilizing. Once you've found your balance, and again, you could have your hands down or you could even be on the mat, we're going to start with an exercise called knee fallouts. And knee fallouts, the challenge of this is that you're moving your knee out to the side without it affecting your stability on the foam roller or the foam roller itself. So if I didn't have my core engaged, which I probably should tell you, I have my abdominals gently engaged, I have my pelvic floor gently lifted, and I'm using my breath. I'm exhaling with my knee going out to the side, inhaling up, and I'm alternating sides. Now, if I didn't have my core engaged and I just was lying here with nothing controlling, you see I would be falling all over the place. So I have to try to get myself organized and oriented, and then I've turned my core on to give me some balance. This is not a range of motion exercise, so it really doesn't matter how big you make the movement of your legs. It's really about finding stillness. So once I've done this, maybe I've done it for about a minute or a minute and a half, then I'm going to use my hand weights. And like I said, you don't need to use hand weights. I'm just using them as an option. And I'm just going to try moving both arms at the same time. Can I maintain my balance there, going out and in? Again, I'm doing slow and controlled. You could use an inhale on the way out and an exhale. Now I'm going to do it like the knee fall out. So I'm going to take one arm out and in, and the other arm out and in. And again, I'm trying not to let it disturb me. So if I go too far, I start gripping in my hip, maybe in my neck, or the foam roller starts moving. So I want to start small, make sure that I have my balance, and then I can get bigger. The hand weights are interesting because it really makes you feel the amount of abdominal engagement you need to have balance. A lot of people will start gripping in their neck and their hip flexors, so you want to try to have your focus be on maintaining yourself oriented towards the line of the foam roller, so everything's oriented towards midline. If that's working for you, then you could do opposite arm and leg out, which does involve a little bit coordination. What's great about the foam roller is it'll give you feedback immediately as to whether you're actually working your core or not. So if you're doing these on the mat and you find that it's very easy, then maybe you do want to try doing them on the foam roller, because it's much harder to maintain stillness. You kind of have to be attentive to how your weight is placed on the back of the body, and you could totally do that on the mat as well. But if you're not used to being that sensitive, then the foam roller is a way to help you feel that a little bit more readily, I should say. So this little foam roller series you could do at the pace that I'm doing it, taking about a minute or a minute and a half for each, and you're starting to build some endurance. There are a couple other progressions here that can get a little bit more challenging. We'll just do one because we can always do other videos that are harder, but you can try without arching your back. So I've really engaged my core now, marching one leg up and placing it down, and then the other leg up, and I'm trying not to shift. I like to do this one with my palms face up so that I don't grip the floor with my hands or my pecs. Again, if you haven't been doing core work, then you might not want to go into this one yet, or you might want to try this on the mat without the foam roller first. You can even think about lengthening your lower back down, so imprinting your spine a little bit to recruit the obliques to give you a little bit more stability. I'm using an exhale to lift the leg up. All right, then we're going to slide off the foam roller if you're on it. Getting off the foam roller is also probably the more awkward, so just gracefully slide off. And then I'm going to say, let's arrive on the mat. What you'll notice if you were on the foam roller is that the mat now feels very comfortable, or the floor is much softer. And now we're going to go into some segmental articulation of the spine. So we're working on intervertebral stability. So I'm starting in my neutral here. I'm going to inhale, and on the exhale I'm going to imprint, so I am intentionally lengthening my lower back down. Then I'm going to engage my glutes, pressing into my heels. My hamstrings will work too as I roll up bone by bone. Now in this position, we're trying to get nice and long at the front of the hips, but you don't want to feel pressure in your lower back, so you may not be able to go that high right now. You don't just want to be careful that when you go up, you don't arch your back like that. So if you can't get there, then you just don't go as high. Rolling back down, so let me cue you through that again. Setting the shoulders nice and wide. You inhale, exhale. We imprint, pressing into the heels, sequencing up bone by bone, opening the front of the hips, inhaling, and then rolling down bone by bone. And we'll do a few more here, just rolling up. And again, if this is kind of a new exercise for you, then what you want to be careful of is that you're not shifting from side to side as you go up and down. We're really trying to stay centered, trying to keep even weight on our feet and even use of both sides of our hips as we roll up and down. Inhaling at the top, rolling down. Now some people will get a hamstring cramp. The back of the legs will really tighten when they do this, but I think it's because oftentimes we're not using our glutes. So if that's you, then you have to try to squeeze your glutes before you go. So abs, squeeze your glutes, press into the heels, then roll up. Inhaling at the top, and then rolling down bone by bone. So that segmental articulation is really nice to be able to do. Now, I also like to do one with a little bit of rotation. So I'll show you with, we'll do both sides. So what happens here is we're thinking about this pelvic clock, and if your tailbone or your pubic bone would be 6, your belly button would be 12. I have my weight slightly over onto this right side, so it would be at 7. I'm kind of arched a little bit extra in my back, but this doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, then you don't. But just because I'm putting a little bit more weight on that right side, what I'm going to do is I'm pressing into my heel, and I'm thinking of rotating through my spine up to, this would be 1 o'clock, and then back down bone by bone. This exercise is called a spiral bridge or reach for the stars, and the knee is reaching out on the diagonal. What I like about this exercise is it's kind of sneaky. You can add this in very, very gently. You don't even hardly have to move, but it allows your back to get a little bit of movement into it while you're working the muscles. So you're starting to add a little bit of strength or a little bit of stability as you move. And this diagonal pattern with the rotation and the little bit of arching and the tucking, as well as the up and down of the pelvis, is a pattern that we use in our daily lives. So this is a very functional movement, even if we're just doing it on the mat. So I did about 5 there. Let's change to the other side. So left knee bent, finding that neutral, shifting my weight slightly over now to that left side of my tailbone, and then I'm rolling up, and you can see on this one my butt cheeks coming off a little bit. So I am rotating, I am trying to feel that diagonal, I am trying to reach out through that leg. And then, like I said before, if any of this bothers you, if you feel a pain sensation or uncomfortable, then you do less. You could just make it this big. And it's a start. And then maybe the next one you push a little bit more into your heel and you get a little bit higher. And down. Or maybe you're arching your back too much and you need to stay tucked. Or maybe you're tucking too much. One more there. So that was 5 on each side. And then we're going to do a non-articulating bridge. So we're back with both knees bent. I'm going to find my neutral. I'm going to engage my abdominals so that I can stabilize myself. Then I'm going to inhale where I am. And on the exhale, again, I'm going to engage my glutes and I'm going to press directly up. Inhaling at the top, hinging at the hips to lower down. So my lower back should be the same shape the whole way through. I inhale, so I'll show you there. Exhale, lifting up, inhaling at the top, and then lowering down. Inhale, exhaling to lift, inhale, and lowering down. 2 more, inhale. Exhale to lift, inhale, and lower. Of course, it's harder with your arms up. I was using that to demonstrate, and then I just left them there. One more. Inhale, and lowering down on the exhale. And then maybe you want to just hug your legs into your chest for a second, rocking from side to side. Like I said, none of this should bother your lower back, but sometimes when you're trying new things, you can get a little bit of aggravation one way or the other. And so it's good to also know the restorative positions and movements you can go to help you recover. So we're going to do one more in this little stability series. This is called the bird dog exercise. I've actually made some videos about this. So for this exercise, you start on your hands and knees. Your abdominals are gently engaged. Again, I'm always setting my position as neutral as possible before I go. So I've got my shoulder blades snug against the back of my rib cage. I've got my abdominals drawn up, but I still have that neutral curve in my lower back. We're going to progress this one slowly. So I'm going to start sliding my right leg out. When I did that, ideally my pelvis did not change or my lower back. And then I'm going to use my glute against my stable pelvis to lift my leg up. Hold there. And then I'm going to tap it down and I'm going to slide the leg back in, and I'm trying not to shift. And then I'm going to go to the other side. So I'm going to reach that leg out. I made sure that I didn't rotate my pelvis. And then I'm going to engage my glute to lift my leg up. Hold there. And then lower and come back in. So I want to imagine while I'm doing this that I have my favorite beverage or bowl of soup on my back and that it's not going to spill. You could put something on your back. I've put a foam roller there. You could put a ball on your back to try to hold it. Make sure you're breathing as you do this. So inhale, exhale, lift. And then however long you want to hold it, inhale, and then lower. Then you can try do just the arms. So again, you set yourself, you inhale, exhale, you're reaching that arm out. I've got thumb up so that I don't get an impingement in my shoulder. Hold it, I'm trying not to make that shoulder go up by my ear, and then I come down. Now I have to stabilize myself through this shoulder blade before I go. Reach out, hold, and come back in. Also being careful not to hyperextend the elbows. Let's do that one more time. So you're reaching out, you're holding, and in. And then finding the other side, trying not to shift, holding, and in. Now, if you haven't been doing a lot of weight bearing through your arms, that was a lot. So you might have to take a break just to rest your hands and wrists. Know that you can modify too. Like sometimes people will use a larger hand weight so they don't have to have weight down on the wrist bent that way. Also, you could just be on knuckles, or you could fold up the end of your mat so that it's not so extreme on your wrist. Okay, so you have options there. Now we're going to do the real exercise. So you're stabilized, you inhale. On the exhale, you're reaching leg and arm out. You're holding, and you're coming back in. And we're going to change, but we're still being very controlled as we shift. Reach and hold, breathe, and in. Let's go ahead and do that again. Let's try and do a few more here. Reach and hold, and come in, and reach and hold, and in. Let's do one more each side. Reach and hold, and in, and one more, reach and hold, and in. And then again, maybe you want to sit back into that shell stretch or child's pose. You could walk your fingertips to one side to get a little extra stretch through your lower back. Feels so good. And then walk to the other side. There we go. So that was a little core stabilization series. Now, of course, we could go on forever. There are a lot of great exercises, and also I could do a more thorough, well-balanced class where you're hitting kind of all your target areas, and I'm sure that's to come. But this is a bite-sized piece if you're just trying to get your home exercise program in, that you're trying to do for PT, or you just want a little bit of something that's going to help support your posture, give you a little bit more postural endurance. These exercises are pretty basic and available, I would say, for most people. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.